All right, here's our study guide questions. Number 1, define oxidation number. It's the charge that an atom would have in a molecule if the most electronegative atoms in the molecule stole the shared electrons from the least electronegative atoms. In other words, that the ones that want the electrons, they had the most electronegative charge, that they stole them, and from the least, the ones that hung on the lightest. So they stole them and held on to them. But this is not an actual thing. Number 2, an atom has an oxidation number of -3 in one molecule, but it has an oxidation number of a +3 in a second molecule. What can we say about the electronegativities of the other atoms that make up the two molecules? Well, so we have a -3 here and a +3 here. So the first molecule has a stronger electronegativity than the other molecules around it, than the second molecule. It has less electronegativity than the other molecules around it. So if you've got more negatives, you have stronger electronegativity than the stuff around you. This is the molecules around you, than you have if you have a positive. Number 3, what must the oxidation numbers of all atoms in the molecule add up to? They must add up to the charge of the molecule. So if it's a 0, if there's no charge, then it must add up to 0. If it has a -1 or -3 or +3, it has to add up to those things. Number 4, define oxidation and reduction. Oxidation is the process by which an atom loses electrons, and reduction is the process by which an atom gains electrons. So we use the moniker LEO, loses electrons, oxidation, GER, gains electrons, is a reduction. So, number 5, would there ever be a case in which oxidation could occur without reduction? And the answer is no. The electrons have to come from somewhere, and they have to go somewhere. So there has to be an exchange. There cannot be oxidation without reduction. Number 6, is the anode of a battery positive or negative? What about the cathode? Well, we had a little silly thing on that study tips and tricks of module 16. An anode is negative because it's annoying. So anode is annoying, therefore it's negative. A cathode is positive because it has a cat in it, and we all like pets. So that's a positive thing. So cathode is positive, anode is negative. Okay, number 7, when figuring out oxidation numbers, what rule do you use only as a last resort? Why is it only a last resort? All right, so when all else fails, we treat the atom like it was an ionic compound on the periodic table of elements. So looking at the periodic table, you would use the columns to determine electronegativity. And we saw that here in our periodic table of elements. There's at the top of the columns, there's our numbers of electronegativity. And we can use that if we absolutely have to. The columns that are most likely to do that or to be successful at that are 3A, 6A, and 7A. And it's a last resort because there are so many exceptions. Number 8. What are the 3 reactants needed for a lead battery or a lead acid battery? You need your lead oxide, and your sulfuric acid. So you have to have the 3 parts in order to make the electricity flow. Okay, number 9. Why are some batteries rechargeable and others not? All right, so here's the thing. Rechargeable batteries, the insides don't break down, so they stay the same, so the electrons can flow back and forth. But if the non-rechargeable batteries, the normal batteries that we use in our CD players or whatever, wow, I really am sounding old now, aren't I? In all the things that we use batteries for, game controllers and other things, they break down. They actually physically break down as the electricity is being used, as the electricity is flowing through them. And because they physically break down, it can't be recharged because you can't reverse the destruction. So the whole thing gets destroyed on the inside. You can't reverse that, so they cannot be recharged. All right, name two differences between an alkaline dry cell and a lead acid battery. Well, one, the alkaline dry cell, there's no aqueous solutions, there's no liquid, that's why it's called dry. Where the lead acid battery, it uses liquid or an aqueous solution, and that's the acid. So that's one difference. And the other one is an alkaline dry cell. The internal structure breaks down or is destroyed as it's being used, so it can't be reversed. But a lead acid battery can be reversed. The charges can go both ways, so you can actually switch the way the charges are flowing and refill it up.